grace, for favor. This is my season to reap what I have sown. Yes, it is. Yes, this is my season for grace. For grace. This is my season to reap what I have sown. Yeah.
Happy Sunday, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to another episode of the AgUP World Podcast. I am your host, Terry M. Parker, and this is my lovely mother, Coach Simmons.
I have no idea why she is whispering, but please speak up. Yes, we are live. And again, thank you guys so much for joining us. It is another wonderful day in the AgUP world. This month, we will be talking about industrial hemp. Yes, it is a cash crop. It is the wave of the future. It is what farmers are really looking for. So yes, that is what we'll be talking about all month long. We got about 5 Sundays in March. And so we're going to cover a lot of information from how to make money, what is some real hemp revenue. We're also going to talk to J Labs Testing, which is the only certified lab tester here in Georgia. And we're also going to speak to Alexis Harris with Harris Consulting later on this month to kind of help us with our business structure and also to kind of review what exactly does a hemp enterprise look like. So you guys are in for a real treat this month, and lucky for you guys.
Yes. Looking forward to it. So again, March is all about hemp. It's Hemp Month. So what is hemp? It is a versatile, fast-growing plant from the cannabis sativa family, and it has been cultivated for thousands of years for fiber, seeds, oils, and it can easily be confused with marijuana.
I think that's his cousin, even though it is the same plant.
It's the same plant. Industrial hemp, though, only contains very low levels of THC, which is the compound that produces the psychoactive effects. So it's used mainly for textiles, food, building materials, not recreational use.
When we talk about industrial hemp this month, we are not talking about marijuana, something you can pick up on the street. Even though, again, it's the same plant, we are talking about different uses for this plant and one that the farmers can legit get into.
Right. So hemp has been called the miracle crop because of its ability to grow in diverse climates. It can improve soil health and replace less sustainable materials like cotton and plastic that we are, so used to using today. But tonight, we're going to talk about the different types of hemp and how we use them, go through the history of it and why it was banned for decades. We're going to talk about the modern hemp industry and like why it has over 50,000 plus uses. And then we're going to go into the future of hemp fiber and textiles and construction. So grab you a little cup of tea, get you a little hemp snack. Definitely recommend they're good source of protein. So, get you some little hemp seeds. Love the hemp oil, like using it on your hair, like all the good stuff. So yeah, it's not just hemp, cannabis, blah blah blah. Like no, it has enormous potential. So, what are the 3 main types of hemp that farmers grow today? Like we were saying, the industrial hemp that's used for fiber, and fiber is just like the stringy part of the plant.
It's like on the outside of the stalk, like if you was to peel it, it's like a string and it definitely looks like fiber. And so, yes, industrial hemp does. And then the inside as well is called a hurd. And they use that to make like sustainable building materials like Hempcrete.
Right. It goes into like biofuels, bioplastics, clothing, all of the things. That's the industrial hemp.
And that's why we call it a cash crop. Industrial hemp is definitely a cash crop because, again, textiles. If you're not familiar with the word, it just means things that are woven by actual plants and straight from the ground. So we're talking about cotton. You can also, bamboo is another textile base. And of course, like with industrial hemp, again, you can make lots of stuff. And so we're going to kind of go over the history of that as well. But yes, so when we talk about industrial hemp, fiber, seeds, there's no way to test seeds. So they've been letting people use seeds already. And no, it's not for psychedelic effects. It's for of course, the medicinal
right. So CBD
medical
hemp
purposes
is used for the cannabinoids, which are used in like health and wellness products. You can get like a CBD salve, like for joint pain, based off of a hemp oil. There are also like CBD gummies that help with like stress reduction. So that's the other type of hemp. Like you're growing it not for the industrial side or the fiber or the seeds. You're growing it for the cannabinoids, which are used like right before it turns into that THC. It's like there are other cannabinoids on the spectrum of what is produced by the hemp plant. And so those can be turned into wellness products. Last but not least, we have grain hemp, which is grown for food and animal feed. So like the hay that animals eat, you can use hemp as a sustainable food for those animals. And like I was saying about the hemp seeds, they're packed with protein and omega-3, so you can use it just for consumption.
And then like in Texas and some other places, there have been doctoral studies about the effects of hemp and grain hemp for different farm animals, whether it's the chickens, the cows, and you would be amazed again because it's high in protein. It is a great supplement as well. So they're definitely dabbing right into the benefits for people and for animals. Definitely, we do eat those animals, and so the idea that they're trying to make animals that we eat more healthy is a really big deal when we talk about hemp and being a supplement for protein for different animals.
So yes, now we know the different types of hemp. Kind of got an idea of like what we're talking about. We can go into the history of hemp, and because like it was like, okay, it started off okay, and then they were like, no, and then they were like, okay, we might can figure it out once we can regulate it. But long, complicated history in the United States. For centuries, like it was grown as a staple crop in America. And like some of the earliest American colonies were required by law to grow hemp because of its importance for rope, sails, and different textiles. Like literally the part of the sail that flows in the air, and having rope to build materials, they used hemp fiber. And so it was widely used across the U.S. By the 18th and 19th centuries for clothing, paper, industrial materials, and even the Declaration of Independence was written on hemp-based paper.
And when we talk about back then, even Betty Ross, is that her name? Betsy, who sold the very first flag, it was through hemp. And I just kind of want to just give a little bit more history about hemp. 1700s, is that the 18th century? That makes sense, right? Mm-hmm. The 1900s is the 20th century.
Yeah, okay.
So during the 1700s, which is the 18th century, which is what we're talking about, you would not, I have 10 things that you would have never known. And we're talking about Pennsylvania and its history. The very first thing is that Lancaster County was the hemp capital of early America. And that, of course, is located in Pennsylvania. There were dozens of water power mills for processing hemp fiber. And so, and during that time, of course, because they were doing it for fiber, it was growing 14 feet, 15 feet tall. Okay. Even though people like to think that Kentucky was like the first people to grow hemp, they didn't actually do that until 1775. And so, and when we're talking about hemp in Pennsylvania, we're talking about 1720s. And that went all the way on to 1870s. So, it's amazing how far back this plant goes. George Washington, who is our first president, okay, he visited and inspected Pennsylvania hemp mills. Okay, our actual very first president. And so this was like 1794 when he actually visited the hemp mills in the village of Lancaster County. And he was also looking for ways for improved equipment to process the hemp. Because he also grew hemp. Yes, that's as far back as this thing goes. Even George Washington grew hemp. And so when we think about how far back and how important this thing is, now if if the first president got into it, it must have been important. And so another fact about hemp in Pennsylvania was founded on hemp, like the whole state. When I tell people that, they're like, wow. And yes, it was William Penn founded Pennsylvania in 1681. And he specifically intended for the Commonwealth to grow hemp. So in 1683, one of the first laws passed in the General 1683. Okay, got to go back. Okay. One of the first, and this, of course, before slavery ended, as you can see. All right. And one of the first laws passed by the General Assembly was a law to encourage farmers to grow hemp. How big is that? Okay. In 1685, it was observed in great quantities of hemp already growing, and proposed that hemp would be among the 4 staples of trade. Okay. That's just how big this thing is. And then even when we talk about the remains of the home old hemp mills, they have them like in different museums, and they remind me of like a spinning wheel for cotton. Just the normal ways that they were processing textiles. You can still see these different monumental remains of old hemp mills, and they're still popular to this day. So hemp, another fun fact, hemp was grown for over 260 years in Pennsylvania. Okay, that is a long time. We're talking about from 1681 until around 1840. The culture of hemp was nearly universal in the whole state. There were many different factors that caused the decline of the industry. Most notable, of course, was the introduction of cotton, as well as the introduction of tobacco, which we know are really cousins of the plant. However, hemp was still common in the state for like about 70 years, flourishing in some places and even on a smaller scale in others. So you see that this thing was no joke. Another fun fact, the Philadelphia ship building industry consumed many tons of Pennsylvania hemp. So it had a large shipbuilding industry. Each ship took about 60 to 100 tons of fiber for all the thick anchor cables, rope riggings, canvas sails, and all that hemp had to replace every few years, thus ensuring an enormous and insatiable demand for hemp. So you see that this thing was driving our economy for a long time. And we just now realizing that we need to get back to hemp. Hemp was grown as an ornamental garden plant. Okay. And it was flourishing in only a few areas of the state, but it was grown all over for non-commercial uses. Amusing accounts of tall hemp plants growing in gardens of Boyertown and Harrisburg, Pennsylvania. And again, some of those plants 16 feet. Okay. It was grown for seeds for the poultry and for bird seed. So I don't even know why we're doing all this testing. Okay, it was already done. Seeds for poultry and bird seed. And that was grown to help the conditions of the soil as a rotation crop. Now, we just now learning about crop rotation. We're just now learning about regenerative growth. But this thing was going on in the 19th century, which was the 1800s. So again, it was grown to help conditions the soil as a rotation crop, and also buffers between crops, which is what we call cover crops. And also it was a great insect protection for potatoes and other crops. So we're getting into this hemp thing, and when I tell you it's the wave of the future, it was the wave of the past. Okay, there were as many oil mills as hemp mills. Okay, byproducts of this enormous hemp industry. Oil mills, we know everything about oil. CBD oil, that's the way we were talking about. People like, oh, Kiara, this super saturated. We're still trying to find out all the different things that we can do with this plant. So don't be fooled. Another one, the fine linen was made from homegrown Pennsylvania hemp. You know, we like linen. It's cool. You know, it's great for the summertime, something to pick up. That was making linen from hemp. So you wonder, like, what else could we do with this hemp? And other just to make some little cotton shirts and sweatshirts. You can make you some fine linen. Okay. Can't beat that from homegrown Pennsylvania hemp. And last but not least, when we're talking about 10 things you did not know about the state of Pennsylvania and the history of hemp, hemp got caught up in the reefer madness scare of the 1930s. And so why was it on the decline, and why in the world did we stop it? I personally think it's because they had they had the prohibition against alcohol going. They lost that. They had all these government people in place, laws in place. Banning marijuana was the next thing to do. They was like, we got to figure out how we can keep this government entity going. So
they ended up lumping hemp and marijuana together, which
boom.
Again, there are two separate things based on the level of THC. But in 1937, they passed the Marijuana Tax Act, making it nearly impossible for farmers to grow hemp legally. So it started off, now it's a law for you to grow hemp when we're first starting off our country. But now that, you can get some type of psychedelic effects from it, it's illegal. In World War II, the Hemp for Victory campaign was launched, and so the U.S. briefly lifted their restrictions to encourage farmers to grow hemp for military supplies like parachutes and ropes. So now they're flipping back. We need it for the mass production of the stuff that we need. Like, okay, before it was sales, now we need it for parachutes.
And so even along those lines, there are newspaper articles that say that the soldiers did not freeze in hemp-made tents. The cotton tents, people were freezing and dying in the woods during World War II. And then they decided that, hey, let's go back to this hemp thing. Not only can we make a lot of it, but we can do it for different reasons. So, of course, they made tents, the wagons, uniforms, everything you could think of during the World War II. They definitely took advantage of hemp in all of its multi-uses.
So now you can grow it again. But 1970, the Controlled Substances Act, it classified hemp as an illegal substance, shutting down all the hemp farms in the U.S. So for decades, the U.S. imported hemp from other countries, while countries like Canada, China, and France expanded their hemp industries. But everything changed with the 2018 Farm Bill, which finally re-legalized industrial hemp at the federal level. So now states can regulate hemp production, and farmers are once again growing this incredibly useful, sustaining crop. So
50 years went by, 60 years before they realized that,
crazy work.
We need to start getting, we were so about let's control everything, that now they have checked off everything that was helping us. And so we don't have anything, even now, cash crops when we think about cotton and even corn or soybean and wheat. And you know these are cash crops because they are on the stock market, just like gold and silver. You can see soybean and wheat and things that, so you know those are cash crops. What is not up there is hemp. So we definitely got to work toward making sure and pushing. Tomorrow, March 3rd, 8 a.m., the Agriculture Committee and Consumer Affairs Committee here in Georgia will be meeting at the Capitol. So if there is, if you have some time to make it over there tomorrow, 8 a.m., they will not be talking about hemp, but you can go and meet these people, shake their hands and say, hey, you're on the Ag Committee, you're in my district. It's about a good 12 to 18 people, representatives on that list for the Ag Committee, Consumer Affairs. So tomorrow, which is not Hemp Day, but you can go down there. The Ag Committee will be meeting, and you do need to get to know the people who are writing the laws around this thing. So that's very important as we move forward, just knowing that you can't go down to the Capitol. There, either there or across the street, your representative is housed for the state. They're housed here, right here in Atlanta. And so if you want to go over there and say hello, that would be a good idea. And so now that they've opened that thing back up, 2018 for the farmers, let's talk about if you want to grow hemp.
That's what we talk about.
Yes, I have been fortunate to develop like a hemp resource manual for you guys. And it's really just, again, to help you understand that there are ways you can get into this industry as a farmer. And there are so many positive things. And so we're going to kind of roll through
the steps that you need to take if you want to, if you're interested in hemp production.
Okay, let's go. Window. Yeah, I'm not good at this.
Go on there first or there first?
I gotta go here first. Okay. Okie dokie, you guys. So this is the Georgia Department of Agriculture website, agr.georgia.gov. Okay, that is what we're looking at. The Georgia Department of Ag was established in 1874. So a lot of this stuff, again, has been around before slavery ended. So the U.S. Department of Agriculture. And then, as you can see, about 5 years later, the Georgia Department of Ag also was created. Currently, Tyler Harper is our commissioner, our ag commissioner. So if you need some really big things done, some big changes, especially like around education and learning, we definitely reach out to him. So contact Georgia Department of Ag, find licensing, search for licenses and businesses, apply for a license. Okay. All of this is on the site. And then here.
First thing up there, hemp license applications now open.
Okay. And so definitely remember, this is what the site looks like. And then you just kind of scroll down and to where it says spotlight, and bam, new hemp license applications are now open. So it's just very important that you understand that, again, you can get into growing hemp. Okay, so let's just talk about that as well.
You have to click a different window.
Okay. Gotta love this. StreamYard is what we're using tonight. Unfortunately, didn't have Daniel Daniel here with us. And so, yeah, StreamYard Live and in the
Over
corner
there,
too.
yeah.
Yeah, and then, and hopefully we will move back to our old spots so that we definitely can have all our logos everywhere. But we're using StreamYard so that we can share our screen, bring in other guests. It's an awesome tool. So let's just jump right in again to
The hemp manual.
the hemp manual. Okay. So this was an old how to get in touch with. So let's talk about the grow requirements. Okay. Following are the requirements for growers of hemp. So the grower's license is both for indoor and outdoor. Okay. A legal description of the land is also required along with your soil testing. So here it just shows that $50 per acre, up to $5,000. And so if you are in your backyard, and an acre is like the size of a football field, just so you will know. And when we're talking about that, if you have anything less than an acre, you still would have to pay $50. Okay. 43,560 square feet. That is the equivalent of an acre in square footage. And so if you're indoors and you have about that or less than that, you still would have to pay $50. Another important part here is the legal description of the land. That is required for Georgia. GPS coordinates for each grow site, and that means longitude, latitude. How can you do that? Thank God for Google in the sky. And so you can always figure out exactly what your longitude and latitude is. An aerial map or photograph. And so what does that do? So it also, even if you have 40, 50 acres and you're only dedicating 5 acres to your grow, they want a map that outlines exactly where you'll be growing on your farm. That is a really big deal. That might not be necessary for other states because I know other people are watching from all over the world. And but that is something required in Georgia. An aerial map, photographs, GPS coordinates. Normally your lease or your deed would satisfy the fact that you own the land and where it will be grown. But in Georgia, they want specifics. Okay. Soil testing, contact an extension agent. Extension agents are a part of the land grant schools. So if you are located in Georgia, that would be either UGA or Fort Valley State University. Now, UGA pretty much handles all of our soil testing. And because it's hemp, they will be testing for heavy metals, any nutrients needed, and basically give you a pH test to let you know how to adjust your soil depending on up or down using lime. Okay. And it also gives you a pesticide residual test. You need to know, and remember, hemp is smokable and it's definitely turned into oil that people ingest. And so the contacting the extension agent is a big deal in helping you make sure that, again, you're not putting the wrong things into your plant.
As well as if you're using it for like animal feed, you don't want the pesticides to, hurt the animals.
Okay. And right here, it just shows you, you need to go in about a foot deep. If you have a square, you would treat it, put an X on it, and you would take samples from each corner of that X and in the middle of that X. And as you can see, maybe a little 4 ounces of dirt can be obtained at that time after you go in about a foot deep. And they actually have bags that you can use, little brown paper bags, but all of those from each one of those corners in that middle all go in the same bag. When they do soil testing, they're testing everything all at one time. Okay. It is very important in that period, if you are growing hemp in America, okay, that you have a farm FSA number. FSA stands for Farm Service Agency, okay? A farm number is important. Now, a farm service agency number may look like a track number because they can go as specific as what track you're in. And so you would need this information. You go to your USDA service center, to the Farm Service Agency, and there they can get you a farm number.
With
Okay.
your deed or lease agreement. Do not go over to these people's office without any documentation that is your land, because they will not respond.
Yes.
Deed or lease agreement stating that this is your property, and then they're going to be able to provide you with the farm number and give you an FSA number.
And just so you know, everything was farmland before development came along. So you're wondering, like, is my farm, am I located on a farm number? Yes, you are. And so, yes, they will definitely have that for you. Luckily in Georgia, they have something here called the gate card. And it is for cost of goods sold. So anything that you may purchase for your farm, I definitely encourage everyone to get a gate card. These are the old ones. As you can see, I've been using this slide for quite a while, but they still look the same. They have a different date on them, 2025, or you can get a gate card that lasts 3 years. But that's just one of the benefits of being in Georgia. They do give out gate cards. So if you live here, after you get your farm number, please apply for a gate card.
And you can find that back on the Agriculture Department of Georgia Department of Ag website. And it
has its own website too, gate card.
It allows you to get tax exempt. So whatever you're spending on your farm, you won't have to pay taxes on it.
And what can we think of? Washer dryer, deep freezers, okay? Tractors is really what they want you to, to knock those taxes off. But long sleeve shirts, whatever it is that you are purchasing for your farm, you can use this gate card for. Another important thing, background checks. Yeah, they still doing that here in Georgia. Okay, it's about a 30-day turnaround. So if you're trying to put something in the ground in less than 30 days, make sure you get this background check done. It's still the same amount. Gemalto.com/Georgia is how you can look that up. But again, they do the background checks for Georgia, and it is a cost. And what are they looking for? 10 years of clean, no drug history. Okay. Which is crazy, right? 10 years of no illegal activities as well around drugs. I think you can actually rob and kill people and still grow hemp. But if you have a drug history, you cannot.
I was going to say that. Yeah, no, that's crazy work.
But, crazy work.
Yes, you can definitely still do it with felonies as long as it's not related to any controlled substances.
Okay, crazy work, right? Crop maintenance. So this is something we like to, again, is very important as far as moving. After you get all of your stuff in and they give you an application, you will definitely, and you pay your monies. They will have you email your grower's license right away. So with that, you want to purchase clones or seeds. So I have a picture here of a seedling or transplant. A clone means it came from the same seed. And so basically what you don't want is where you see the roots here. They are all loose and you can see dirt. If you only saw white, that means you may have root bound where the roots have tangled themselves up, and that will not grow well. So please be mindful if you're doing transplants to make sure they're not root bound. And so that is a really big problem as you see your other ones growing in the and a few that didn't, and it may be because of that. So definitely look into that. Purchases,
Option number 2, if you're not getting the seedlings or the clones, you're growing it straight from seeds. And it's really important to know where your seeds are coming from. You want to know the genetics behind it, because once you get your hemp into the ground, then you need to be able to know like the CBD percentages. You need to know like what the THC percentages are, all the different cannabinoids that come with that. And seeds usually have like, okay,
a COA.
Certificate of analysis that has a description of all of the percentages of each cannabinoid that are in that plant. So when you go to sell the oil or whatever the case may be, like, you know that you're getting the highest yield from that particular seedling or that seed.
So yeah, pay attention to all of that. Your COA when you go to purchase, and seeds can cost about $1 each. And I still say do a transplant. So you get those little trays and you put seeds in them, and after you do that, then a little bit pops up, and then you transplant that into your fields. If you were doing seeds, you can just walk down the trail, but it's as expensive there as they are.
You want to make sure they germinate properly. Get them in a nice humid area to where the seeds are going to germinate, and set the roots. Have a nice root system before you put it into the ground.
Yes, that is very important. And then weed control. I know some people who actually use plastic that is called mulch, plastic mulch to. Again, that is a way to control the weeds. Fortunately, you can't really see what's going on under there, and you definitely don't want anything to be happening with your roots. But it is a good way to, again, keep out the weeds, because that's another thing. Remember, this is almost an organic crop, and you can't just put pesticides and things on there like that. And so the mulch definitely helps. Having workers on hand also for weeding issues. Someone needs to be checking that on a regular basis. And so that, again, is very important when we're talking about weed control.
A farm hand, somebody that, like, if you're not doing day-to-day maintenance, because the pest control situation can happen. You could also get like blight on the plants, which is popular in Georgia.
Southern blight, gross. Yes,
just basically from the humid conditions, and it starts to grow like mold. And so you want to make sure that you have somebody checking on the plants on a regular basis to make sure that your whole crop doesn't get messed up. Like, you did all this from transplanting to putting down mulch, and now all of a sudden you got these worms that ate your whole crop because you decided, I'm gonna just come back next week and it's all over with.
Yeah, so definitely put drip lines down. I think that works better because it'll spray just at the root. When you do overhead spraying, that again can cause mold, and those buds are real tight. And so if moisture gets in there and it doesn't dry out in time, like anything, after it's been wet for a while, and it opens up, something else is going on in there. And so it's very important. Just using a drip line instead of overhead water is a big deal as well. And then we're talking about fertilizer. Okay, hemp uses NPK, nitrogen, phosphorus, and potassium. Fertigation to me is the best method. And when we say that, that means while you're watering, you can put your fertilizer inside the water. So they call it fertigation. Monitored and not so that you don't over nutrient your plants. But again, 2 tons of lime for 1 acre if the soil test pH reveals acidity. Okay.
Yeah, that's the same thing with like hydroponics. Like, people just give the fertilizer through the water, so that irrigation system is also the fertilizing system. So you don't have to like, I'm losing nutrients because, or if I have mulch on my soil, I can't just like put it directly on the soil. So I'm feeding through the drip line, and I can use my gate card to buy me some drip lines.
Okay, thank you, drip lines, tax free. So and as Terry mentioned about pest and disease, Careful monitoring. Okay. If you see anything abnormal, you have to identify it and address it quickly. Like Southern Blight, it is a virus, a disease, and it definitely will spread. So you have to address those things quickly as to not contaminate the other plants.
You want to have space in between your plants to prevent that as well. So you don't want to have your plants like bunched up on each other. You want to have at least about 6 inches, 6 to 8 inches between each plant to avoid like, okay, if one plant is contaminated, it's not going to automatically just go over to the next plant. And once you do have a contaminated plant, you have to like uproot it immediately, just so that it's not being spread. Make sure that it's treated, the soil is treated around it, so it's not contaminating the whole row or the row next to it, because literally it's going to spread.
It's going to spread. So, yeah, you got to watch that. Worms. We say worms, but they look like caterpillars. So, moths and butterflies are not your friend. Okay. When you see those things coming, and those worms are ridiculous. Like, some kind of way you're just in the field and they just get on you. I don't know. Yeah, that was like something. Yeah, we had to go through. I remember one of the ladies helping us one time literally had 2 of them on her back, like under her shirt. And she was like, oh, can you remove those? You get that off. So, yeah, just definitely be geared up.
Oh, that's what I was saying.
As you definitely get ready to.
I said 6 to 8 inches. I'm talking about the rows should be okay. The rows are 5 to 7 inches apart. The plants are 1.5 to 2 inches apart.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's supposed to be inches, something like that. So a planting record is very important, okay, and needed. Okay, you want to have accurate data the whole time, and I'm just talking about 1 acre. So each field, you should have identified the genetic strain in the row, should be labeled as well. And everything should have visible signs for anybody who would come on your property. So definitely have some type of tagging method. You can either tag each plant, doing that when they get out the ground a little bit, and then you can kind of tag them, and so people will know. And this is just something, and this range here is just a normal range, but some people put way more plants in. Some people put less plants in. This is just a suggestion. So per acre, we could probably get up to about 2,200 plants in an acre. Remember, we was talking about a seed is $1. So you know from the jump that each seed is going to, your for an acre would be about $2,200 just for the seeds, okay? And if you multiply that by 3, that would be $6,600 if you got actual transplants. And then we're just talking about approximately 20 rows, 5 to 7 feet apart, and plants about 1.5, and we're talking about the rows. So this row should be at least a short person should be able to lay in between the rows, okay? And I can use myself to kind of stretch that thing out to see. And then the plants can be almost about a foot apart, 2 feet apart.
So I was tripping.
Yeah.
I said,
yeah, no, it's okay.
Definitely a lot more space because they have to grow. Okay.
And they like to be, it's a communal plant. So they like to be, around. Like if you put a hemp plant by itself, it may not do as well, but it's amazing how other hemp plants are around. It's like, hey, that's why you got to be careful about the southern blight and different things, because if you got it, then I'll have it. And so we don't want that.
And that's another thing with the like tagging your rows and everything. When you have those data points, you can refer back to it like, oh, in 2020, like this row did such and such, and so I lost those plants. And you will know that space had the blight in it, so you won't want to plant something in that same space because it had that area is susceptible to blight the most, or something might get contaminated from like another field. Just say, oh, these plants were contaminated, so now I know like when I'm tagging my plants, which ones to set aside and which ones to keep. Because if you're just putting it all together, or whoever is harvesting may not specifically know. But once you're documenting these things, you can keep track of.
Yeah, pull that out, because you're harvesting people. They just gonna cut and lay the stuff together. And so we definitely have to be mindful of that, okay? Seed to harvest time. And then we usually say 120 days. And that's about 10 weeks to 12 weeks, okay? About 3-4 months, right? Crop management includes weed, pest, and disease management. We can't say that enough, weed, pest, and disease management. If you're not spraying these plants, then that means somebody got to be doing that thing by hand, okay? Not all the time you're going to know exactly what's going on with your plant, but I definitely believe in Google, or even contacting your local extension officer to say, hey, come out. Can you check on this? This doesn't look normal. Something's not going right for my plants.
Or what are the usual like pests in this area, or slugs common in this area? They'll tell you like different diseases that are coming to your area, because like something like that's here in Georgia, but if you're in the Midwest, it might be a different type of disease that plants are more susceptible to. And to know the signs of it, what you're looking for is going to be necessary when you're actually checking on the plants and trying to avoid the diseases and pests.
And then you're going to be hiring farm hands, so you definitely want them to know. You got to inform them. So taking pictures and things of that nature can help. I would say about 1 to 2 farm hands because remember, we're talking about an acre, and that means they're going to work 10 to 20 hours a week for about 8 to 10 of those weeks. Once the plant gets out the ground good, and that's when the weed, pest, and disease management will kick in. Testing for THC levels, the point less than 0.3%. It should happen periodically after about the first month, every 2 to 3 weeks until harvest. And you want to make sure you have at least a minimum of 3 documented tests by an approved testing agency. That is very important.
Like you were saying, SJ Labs.
Yep, SJ Labs.
They're the only one in Georgia. And you will literally have to, if it goes over 0.3%, you have to burn the plants.
Yeah.
That's the difference between hemp and cannabis. Hemp is below 0.3. So if you leave it in the ground too long, you wait an extra week, so it's important to have your harvesting plan set up already, so you know, okay, exactly how long is it going to take me to harvest these plants, because you do not want to waste a whole, section of your crops just because now it's going over the levels, and they're going to ask you what you did with that hemp. And
burn it. You can turn it into biomass. But you will have to dispose of it. I've never known anybody to actually come out and make sure you dispose, but you do have to have documentation saying that you dispose of it. So yes, so keep that in mind. Documentation is very important. Harvest protocol. So again, like what she was saying, was once you get it tested, within about 2 weeks of that last TH testing, you need to pull that stuff out the ground. Okay. We definitely believe in doing things the old way, like the tobacco hang, right? If you hang it up and let it dry, because again, it's susceptible to mold. And but you gotta make sure that you categorize it. That means again, labeling, tagging of each plant, the field location, genetic strand. You might have to have a real big thick tag so you can write all these things on here, so you can identify again where it was taken from, where the row, what strain it is. Again, it's very important. And this process is completed for flower and stalk. So if you're doing fiber, seed, or if you're doing fiber or flower, it's still recommended that you go through this drying process, okay? Harvest numbers should be recorded and put into the annual report. and that's usually due in November at the end of the year. Okay, the report is online, so just kind of make sure again that you are documenting everything that you need in order to make sure that this your crop is successful.
So, like, as far as harvesting goes, one of the main issues, like she was saying, is with mold. So, yeah, okay, I'm taking it out of the ground in that 14 days, but if I don't set it up to dry, then you're going to have issues with it molding. You want to have like a dehumidifier. Some people have like warehouses where they have like large fans, just so you can have proper ventilation, a dehumidifier, to make sure that that moisture is not in the air. It can take, at the most a week, but you can do it manually or using a machine. After that, you have to debud it. So there are like
next, okay,
right, you dried it, and if you're using it for the flour, then you have to remove the flowers from the stalk. So there are machines that you can put the stalk through, and it will remove the buds for it. From there you can trim the bud, because it's like, yeah, it's leaves around the flower.
It's a little flower. Yeah, the bud is a flower. We call that flower.
And okay, you can trim it around the edges, so it can just be like the dense part of the bud.
Yeah, cut all the little big leaves off, Right. A lot of people do that.
So literally, not only do you have to have, okay, boom, I have my setup for my transplants, my seeds, planting, germination. Then I have my, my land set up to have my rows. But you also have to have, okay, inside of my processing facility, somewhere to dry my plants, somewhere to debud it, and somewhere to trim it. And they don't require a processing permit, because you're just, trimming the plant, basically, and removing the buds from the plant. And you're not really going through like, the straining of it. Like if you were going further than just the bud, then you would need a processing permit. But you do need all of those things. Like I need to be able to dry my plant, I need to be able to trim it. But this is like if you're getting it for the buds. If you're using it for the stalk, then of course there are different processes for what you need to do as far as milling for the fiber.
Now, all those are processing plant things that you would need. So right. Yeah, even like for the fiber, if you take all the buds off and you just have your stems, that's a yes, you still would have to label that as well and tie it off. Is there testing needed for fiber? No, but I think they still do testing. So just keep that in mind. And for those who want to get into hemp and don't want to pay that type of money to get into the game, you can offer the harvesting steps, which is the drying, debudding, and trimming. That too is a cash flow. There is a cost normally for debudding and trimming, whether people have the machines or if they're paying people to do it by hand. And so because there is an individual charge, that means you can charge for that. So you don't actually necessarily have to grow it. You can, again, dry it, debud it, and trim it and have it ready for the farmer. And that is, again, a big deal. We want to make sure, we figure out how to make money in this cash crop. Okay. Product, pre-processed, post-processed. So again, as you can see here, we have it separated out where you can actually see the fiber, and that's just the stems. Again, the stalk and stems that we have left over. And then this is what that pretty bud looks like after we have debudded and trimmed it all up. And as you can see, it needs to be in bags, separated out. Again, you can have those labeled by the genetics as well, and what row it was. Also, what field. Some people have different fields growing different things. And so, yes, so you want to definitely keep track. Okay, so all the products should be packaged for delivery with sorting and tagging continued. Attached, all shipments should have a certificate of analysis. So when SJ Lab testing comes out and and does those testing, they will give you a certificate of analysis. Okay. And so we're going to go over that in just a few. So you will have to put that even with the fiber or with your buds, so people will know that the product, before it is processed and returned, then this is exactly the levels of cannabinoids or CBD, CBGs, CBAs, cannabinoids, or THC, which is also a cannabinoid.
Right.
And it'll give you the levels.
So
okay?
whenever it's being packaged and shipped, meaning like your delivery driver, if he is taking it from off your farm to another location, he has to have that COA on his person. Because if they get pulled over and it's like, what are you shipping? And there is no COA that says that this is below 0.3% THC, then they can be qualified as shipping cannabis. And then your whole shipment gets seized, and now you look crazy because you didn't have your COA on file.
And you don't want to get your drivers locked up, because that's exactly what could happen, is that your drivers can get locked up. Okay. Once you've actually, grew it, and you done decided that, hey, this is what I want to do with it. So now this is just some pictures here of the different parts of the plant, separated all out. When you get that flower and you get it processed into oil, it looks like crude, with that black oil stuff you see up at the top right there. And it comes in kilos. So you make sure that normally an acre can get you about 3 kilos, if I'm not mistaken. So just keep that in mind, that these are just different breakdowns of the plant.
Oh yeah, so that's what I was talking about earlier. The hemp seed oil, the oil is like the seeds are pressed, and it's like, kind of like an olive oil type situation where you can use it for salads. Or like I said, you can use it on your skin, use it for your hair, help with hair growth, things of that nature.
Yeah, that's this hemp seed here at the top left of these pictures. It all ground up, and of course you can get oil from hemp seed as well. And so in places like Scotland, they have big hemp tea places and hemp coffee places where they add seed to your coffee and to your tea, because again, it has great medicinal purposes or medical side effects that are positive. And so we definitely know that hemp seed is a big commodity. So you can't just grow for seed. If you do, then whether the plant is female or male is not a big deal. When we're trying to grow for flower here and crude, then no, we don't have any male plants around. Okay. And that's because we don't want any fertilized flowers here, which could help with THC increase. So yeah, so this is just flower with crude. This is what the inside of the stalk looks like here when there is no. Yep. Okay. The white stuff, it looks like wood. It's not quite wood. That is the herd. To the left of that is the fiber. When you peel it all off, it looks just like cotton fiber, definitely ready to be sewn. So herd makes hempcrete, and a herd is also used for animal bedding. And so, yes, once you split this plant up, and you have your fiber here, and of course, that is used for a number of things. Here at the bottom under the hemp seed is a pretty pin, and that is what the fiber looks like in pressed wood. Isn't that beautiful? So yes, so I'm sure there are some interior designers that would love to put that wood somewhere. And then we also have 2x4s and Hempcrete here in the corner, showing a little maze. But yes, you can make blocks from it. And come to find out, pressed hemp is as strong as maple. So it is heavy, and it is mold resistant, flame retardant. And that's how we know it is going to be the wave of the future. Yes, getting into sustainable building materials, by bioproducts, hemp will by far outweigh everybody.
It's going to surpass everything. And especially with the Hempcrete, like just the level of strength, like stress tests are showing that Hempcrete is stronger than regular concrete. And then, like you said, with the wood, again, if I want to build my house, I want to build it with hemp wood because if it catches fire, then that's a safety hazard. If it's not flame retardant and
yeah, you can't beat that.
Mold resistant, like.
Yeah, those are some of the main problems that builders have that they would no longer have in using hemp. Again, hemp seeds are used for food and medicine and oil. End products for the flower or the bud are sold in forms of a smokable or as is or in an oil. You can also put it in a winterized crude. And the crude can be broken down into full spectrum or broad spectrum cannabinoid oil. And the stalk can grow up to 6 to 8 feet, and it's ideal for producing rope or durable fiber strands. And then pressed hemp wood or and clothing fabrics. So again, it just is no end to this thing. So we want to talk about the COA, certificate of analysis. I'm not sure if you can really see this, but it definitely goes in to show you what is all in that plant and the levels that's in there. So as you can see, some of the cannabinoids was not found in this particular plant. Hence the NDs. And as you can see, THC. Yeah, ND means not detected. So again, the cannabinoids here was 64% per weight. And so CBG, CBD were found in this particular plant. And so that is very important. And CBD was very high here. This is what they are looking for to see that THC is ND, baby, or less than 0.3%.
Delta, what is that? Delta 9 THC is
legal.
So that's a different type of THC that can be present, and it's stronger. The effects are like stronger than CBD, but it is not illegal to have Delta 9 THC inside of your plants. The COA also like tests for pesticides. So if you're supposed to be growing organic, then this cannot say that you have like certain pesticides. And then it also tests for heavy metals because again, if this is being produced for people, we cannot be poisoning them folks.
Yeah, that is completely out. So make sure that you obtain the COA with the purchase of your clones or seeds. And then also when you get ready to harvest, whoever is delivering it, make sure that they also have your COA. They're going to need your grower's license as well. So make sure you have plenty of copies of that, your grower's license along with the COA when you get ready to deliver your product either to a processing plant or even to a buyer. Okay, we just want to make sure that we're legit all the way around, and the COA helps with that.
We're getting through. We're almost there.
We're almost there. Okay. Again, a disposal procedure is required with the state of Georgia. They want to know exactly how you plan to do it, and they want it posted. So when they come out to check your farm, please have that posted, presented to any government official who may inquire about it. Remember that anything over 0.3% is considered hot and has to be destroyed. Unfortunately, you can still make money off of that, but if you're growing for flour, that could be a problem. Again, you won't get as much for biomass as you would have gotten for your flour. So please make sure you do your testing on time so that this is not a problem. Okay. Make sure.
I was gonna say that's why it's important to know like the particular strand that you're growing, because the time for it to go high could be different for different types of plants. So based on genetics, okay, it might take 10 weeks for this plant to grow hot, but then another strain might only take 8 weeks to grow hot. So you don't want to put that in the ground if you know that you're not going to be able to harvest that plant in that time frame, and then it's just going to be having to sent to biofuel.
Yeah, and so again, so you can again sell it as biomass, but you would not get as much as if you had the whole plant. So the flour, and you're using it for flour. So just keep that in mind. Here I have listed the paperwork needed when we're talking about what all do you need. What I've tried to do here, I have created a hemp tracker pre-processed form that anybody who is in need, you can definitely reach out to me, coach at agriculture-up.org. And I can get you a pre-processed tracker and a post-processed tracker. But what does that do? The pre-process says this is where you actually got it from. This is who you bought your seeds or your clones from. This is how many plants you actually planted. A hemp tracker post-process, pre-process is also before it actually leaves your property. So you also need to know how many actual plants from how many you planted did actually grow into something profitable. Pre-process also, it just includes exactly what field it was in, what strains you were growing, where they were actually located. And then your hemp tracker post-process, whoever picked it up will need to sign for it. Whenever it gets to wherever it's going, they will need to sign for it. And you will have to keep the weight. So you need to know exactly what the weight is post-process as well as pre-process. Okay.
And you want to know that as far as like your annual report, like having, okay, this is my profit loss statement. I grew this, I planted this many seeds, and this was the weight of the yield. That's why when you're breaking it down, like, okay, am I weighing it? Am I using it for the oil? So you need to be able to track, okay, this is how much oil I produce, and is this profitable? Am I making money?
Right. And I think a lot of people fail at making money because they don't have good records to show what actually happened from beginning to end. And so just keep that in mind. Background check, your growing license application, a hemp farm plan is what we're talking about when we say profit and loss. What was your plan? What is your end game? Are you going to put it in an oil? Are we doing hemp roll-ons? Are we doing pre-rolls, smokables? You need a hemp farm plan in place so that you know exactly what you're doing, what you're getting into, and what your end result should look like. Okay. What do you need to post? You definitely need to have identifying, tagging information posted. Okay. People need to know what you're growing, what strain you're growing, and where it is. Okay. Site specific testing procedures. No matter where you are in the field, what actually happened. 2 to 3 weeks. Who was the actual testing person? You will have to have that paperwork posted. Remember, 2 to 3 times during the harvest season. Disposal procedure. What do you plan to do if it goes hot? And that also needs to be posted. Okay. Again, we just want to make sure that you have everything you need. This is the required paperwork that's needed in going forward. And as you can see, anything with 2 dots means that the government is going to need this information as well. So just be mindful of that. 1 dot, row and plant, that's for you. That's some records that you need to keep on your own. But 2 dots, please make sure that you have this information because the government will need it as well. I think we're done with the paperwork. It's just some references because definitely you don't think I just came up with this stuff off the top of my head. Definitely got to have references. And then, of course, here. So where are we on our run the show?
Ooh, we go through that picture.
Is that what we're doing? Because this is a big deal. This is my favorite part here. Why I just know it is the wave of the future. It is a cash crop. Okay.
Yeah. Biodegradable plastics, eco-friendly clothing, Hempcrete, health supplements, food products. yeah, it's really a lot that could be used for. What else is on here? Textiles, insulation. Again, we talk about plastic, acrylics, canvas. When we talk about Declaration of Independence being grown on paper.
And my favorite, okay, these sustainable building materials. Guess what? Those molded plastic in cars. Yes, we can make that out of hemp.
The fiberglass.
Yeah, oh my God. So in those big old TV 52, that black carbon plastic can be replaced by hemp. Okay. It is amazing all the different things. Installation. Okay. Because, of course, again, remember, it kept the soldiers warmer than cotton. So we definitely want to look at that.
Gasoline.
Acrylic, I don't have any fingernails. I'm out in the field all the time. But guess what? I can get something made out of hemp, baby. Okay? That could be a whole new thing that you're doing, is changing your hemp product into acrylic fingernails. Everybody has them. I just don't have nothing on because I be out in that field.
I ain't gonna say everybody.
Oh my goodness. It makes my hands look better.
It's an acquired taste.
It makes my hands look better. So yes, that paper products. So we're talking about toilet tissue, sneezing tissue, all the tissues you can think of when we talk about paper plates, napkins, paper towels. Okay. Right. Cement is definitely, remember I told you that building material is no joke. And so cement will become Hempcrete. Okay. What else is almost all molded fibers and plastic, animal bedding, and soil amendment.
Animal feed, you can feed them the seed, you can feed them the hay. But no, that just shows the breakdown of the fibers.
Look at that. Hemp fiber is the strongest natural fiber in the world. Okay. 20 years for trees to mature, 4 months for hemp to mature. You know, we're going in that direction.
Because why are we cutting down trees when we can be growing hemp? Like, we need the trees to breathe. Hemp is going to grow in the 10 to 12 weeks, and it's going to grow back again next season.
4 months, we could probably get 2-3 grows, out of hemp
in the growing season.
Yeah, and 15, 16 feet high versus 20 years for trees. And a lot of the reason our air quality is where it is because we continue to cut down our trees.
They put us back.
Yes. This means all parts of the plant are being used and are put back into the earth. So you can't beat that recyclable circle that we're always looking for. Like, oh, it starts here and we want it to come back here. Hemp is it. It definitely helps the ground, cover crops. It saves soil. It puts nutrients back in. It takes the bad stuff out. This plant is awesome.
Bioremediation.
Yeah, I didn't go there about the CBD, okay, because I don't want people to kind of get mixed up with marijuana. But hemp is not a drug, okay? Hemp is not marijuana. But CBD is the wave of the future. It will replace opioids and pain medication. That's just how serious it is, okay? It is not a drug. You cannot, no bad effects of CBD have ever been listed. If you don't have the right strand, it ain't strong enough. If you don't have the right strand, it might not help you. But again, you can get you a CBD coach for that. And if you didn't know, that's another job. You can start right here in the hemp industry. I don't know if you even have to have a medical license to be a CBD coach. You just need to know about CBD.
And it's crazy. I don't think you can overdose on hemp.
Yeah, it's just no way.
It's not a thing.
It's just the best thing ever.
It's not deadly. Nobody's out here dying. But back to Pennsylvania, as we were discussing, like all of the different ways that it could be used. They were the first back in the day. They are now again creating they have created a comprehensive hemp growing funded with state funded research and they have farmer incentives for growing once again. And also the University of Kentucky is a leader in hemp research, testing fiber applications for, like we said, the textiles and building materials, because we want to research how this can be applied to our day-to-day life and replace, the things that aren't helping our environment. Like, it's so many microplastics and everything that we got to stop using plastic. My cousin told me yesterday, everybody has a plastic spoon worth of microplastics in your brain. Is we're breathing it in, we're ingesting it through the water, and it's getting into the food sources, and literally it's not sustainable for us to keep living like this. So yeah, we're definitely moving in the direction of trying to get a sustainable material, and hemp is that.
Yeah,
source.
It's the regenerative, it's the sustainable. I don't even think I heard that regenerative word until they brought the hemp back, because a hemp puts stuff into the ground. You cannot beat this plant. Some other uses here. Biomass, that means ethanol, methanol, methane gas can be created from biofuels. Okay, and hemp herd is clean when it's converted into gasoline. Okay, unlike those the different nuclear effects that we may have with the gas we got now, that is studied again as we inhale it, affecting us. So just keep that in mind. Like the biomass that we were just talking about, you may have left over. You can create electricity, you can create energy, even gas. And so, again, it is going to be the wave of the future. Enough biomass could be produced for 6% of the land mass to provide energy for the entire country. So, what do you think is holding us back? Of course, it's the oil and gas people. Because they're like, what you mean? We got to do that. Those fossil fuels are out of there. And then here's some other things too. It's great for skin and for hair. People turn that CBD oil into all kinds of things. And again, it is a regulator for the human body. It literally helps us again in all areas. Look at these things. Many other foods can contain this protein, again, to help us further along. Vitamins A, B, C, and D. Okay. Also, you can get through cannabinoids. Okay. Histamines, all different types of things contain all 9 essential amino acids. Okay, so we definitely believe in this plant. We're going to talk more about it this month again as we go into hemp this month and all that it can do. And so, yeah.
I was gonna say, like, as far as what's stopping us is the lack of research. And so if you don't know what are the effects of it, how we're gonna do it, we need more people researching and doing the experimentation on seeing what can be the uses and how it's moving us forward. Because, like, right now the main problems that hemp farmers are facing is the strict regulations on THC levels. Like, again, if it's over that 0.3%, it's hot, cool, you can't grow it no more. And another issue is, like we were saying, as far as processing facilities, like for large scale fiber production, finding somewhere to process the hemp after you have it and making sure it's not sitting around, getting molded, or having somewhere to ship it to. We need more processing facilities. I know it's only maybe like 2 or 3 in Georgia.
There are no processors no more. They left. Unfortunately. I was like, yes, 2018. Nub's Revenge. Got a couple of answers for that. You asked me about combining it with clay, okay, and creating homes. So I'm just watching. It's Easter, okay, around April, right? And so I am watching the 10 Commandments, with the big stone tablets or whatever. And Moses talking about let my people go. And so literally I'm watching it, and it looks like a man on the side stripping off the hemp fiber and throwing it into the mud. I think the pyramids was made from hemp. Okay, they tossed it into the clay, just like what you're talking about. Mm-hmm. And now those pyramids are still there. Still there. Elements, years, all of that, whatever you want to call it, the pyramids are still there. So I do believe if you toss some hemp into some clay, what would you get out? You can get you some houses that'll never go away. The wind can't blow it down. The weather can't beat it up. And so, yeah, definitely.
Put the insurance companies out of business. That's all it's for. The insurance company, the oil company, and big pharma. Them folks got their pocket, everything. They in everybody's business. Their pockets is so deep.
Yeah, I mean, and then literally just look at the history of the plant, learn more about Pennsylvania. Okay, I kid you not, just literally trying to, is there a fear there? No,
you're correct.
It's just going forward. We just have to realize the potential. We're so used to just looking at the right now. Business causes us to forecast. It causes us to predict, make predictions, projections. And so with that being said, the prediction is that we're going back to hemp. Okay, we need biomass, we need biofuels, we need medicine that is not a drug. So we are definitely going back to that. I don't feel that there are anything holding us back. We like to save money, but if we can find the money if we know what the end game is supposed to be. And if you, again, look at the history of industrial hemp, that thing is no joke. It is definitely a way to everything that they want to do. They want to clean the air. They want to save the soil. they greenhouse gases. Everything they need is with this one plant.
It's crazy work.
Gotta get, if you don't do nothing but again, keep you one of those plants growing. No one is gonna come if you just got one. And you can literally, the roots, oh my God, you can sell your roots. Okay, after you cut your plant down, dig them roots up, rinse them off, sell them to somebody who makes herbs for health and wellness. Because yes, oh my gosh. And so
removes radiation.
Thanks, Nuts. I mean, oh my God, it is this plant is the wave of the future. It is a cash crop. You need to figure out how to grow it, how to mass produce it, and we're always working on that.
So there are some hemp growing manuals that are coming out that talk about soil preparation, how to have a neutral pH soil, how to have proper drainage, because that's also within the soil testing, like the percentage of clay, because a lot of microbes and those decomposing animals can't live in the clay. So you want to make sure you have the proper ratio of nitrogen and all of those things inside of the soil, as well as like the percentage of sand, clay, and loam within the soil so that it's properly aerated for drainage purposes. Because if it's too sandy, it might erode too easily. If it's too much clay, the roots might not be able to break down. And so you want to have like something that's rich in organic material, because that's going to be feeding your plants and require you to use less fertilizer. So make sure you have like a nice layer of topsoil, and like you said, going down to a foot into the dirt. You want to make sure that you have good soil quality. So just researching that, planting and harvesting, there are different variations of, like you were saying, with the spacing and how you want to water your plants, and different methods of harvesting. So you want to make sure you have that lined up, doing your research on that, and processing and selling. So right now, CBD, like Nub was saying, he uses for health and wellness. It is most focused on CBD, but fiber and grain markets are starting to grow here more. So if you're thinking about growing hemp, it's a long-term investment, but the potential rewards are like not only financial but environmentally, talking about like the planet, they're huge.
Yeah, we definitely so for later on this month, we're going to bring in some speakers and guests to talk more about again the hemp revenue that is out there, the potential of that. Also, we're going to talk about just the testing. What does that need to look like? Who should you contact for that? And then Cedric Rowe, we were privileged to go to his event yesterday, March 1st, where he went through all of these things and a little bit more on inventory, how important that is. And so we definitely want to just talk about all things industrial hemp this month, because it is a cash crop and it is exactly which way we need to be going in farming. I'm literally trying to bring states together so that we can have enough inventory so that we can be a source for anybody who's building anything, anybody who's making any textiles. We need our Black farmers to be suppliers. And so we're going to definitely just look for information this month on us having a farm forum around industrial hemp.
Absolutely.
And it will be virtual. And then also we will have a day at the Capitol. And so look out for that date as well. We'll be shooting all of this toward the end of the month is when we'll be having these events. And so, yeah, and we definitely want to keep you in the loop. Cedric Rowe is awesome. So even in August, we're going to do like a tour so that people can kind of see what the plant looks like coming out the ground right here in Georgia. Those terpenes, they're still real, whether it's the smokable or the CBD or the hemp.
So
yeah, terpenes. Yeah, the
like
smell.
The different, the nose on it. So like some strains have different smells to them. So that is also a part of, okay, when you're looking for genetics in a plant, are you trying to find something that smells a certain way? Whatever the case may be. But
you can't beat that. So yeah, we definitely going to get into
you all later.
Yeah, we are definitely going to invite you guys out when we are trying to plant and harvest, when we are going out there to do our pest and our management. We will also invite you guys out for that. It's going to be a fun time. Again, farming is all about giving and growing, and we definitely want to make sure that everybody's on board with that. Remember, AgUP World, we are planting.
Agriculture.
Oh, okay. No. What is it?
Agriculture for a united people. So this is us doing
united people means the Black people. I want to unite all of our people. So we're not doing our own thing anymore. Like we are doing it as a group. So maybe, I never really expressed that to you guys. Because, once the Black people get it going, I believe all the other cultures will follow right along, because we believe in integrity. We believe in walking upright and doing the right thing. So definitely as we move forward, agriculture for a united people is about us coming together, planting, growing, and harvesting together. Okay, we can do this together. Okay. Thank you so much again. So I need for you to,
if you enjoyed this episode, please like, subscribe, and follow us for
and share.
Content. Yes, this is about sustainable agriculture. We're talking about farming. We're talking about, world peace. No, I'm just kidding.
World health. We're talking about the world health right now.
Of the situation in the world. Again, we will see you next time. Go ahead and comment down below, like if you think hemp is the future of farming. And
what do you think about hemp? Nub's Revenge, he is definitely lets us know, even rat urine is a natural pesticide. So, just paying more attention to rabbit. Yeah, I'm sorry, I said rat, Lord have mercy. Rabbits. So I don't want to misquote anybody. But yes, just being mindful of how to keep it clean, a clean crop is very important when we talk about hemp, because it can be ingested. But follow us every Sunday. We're going to be putting out some more information about industrial hemp and how we can, again, move into that cash crop, how it's going to help us medicinally, how it's going to help us in transportation and building materials, everything. Okay, it is very important that we highlight industrial hemp this month. So yeah, just like, subscribe, and we will see you. Oh, and share,
comment, all the things, you know.
that you do with YouTube, right? Thanks again, you guys.
Bye.
Bye.
And see.